Make sure the camera's looking clean, looking good, looking sharp, all that. Welcome for a Monday, October 13th, year of our Lord 2025. Bringing you the latest and greatest of what's happening in the world of sports. As today's podcast pregame is going to be jam-packed. A lot going on, a lot happening. And my podcast today, which you'll see on Apple, Spotify, JAYREELZ.com, of course, right here on the YouTube channel. It'll usually comes around 12:30 p.m. Eastern, maybe a little bit later today. The reason why I'm out here in the car doing this live stream is because the wife is home today, not only with it being a holiday, of course, Indigenous Peoples Day, Columbus Day, whatever, or however you want to observe it, but for a podcast that is going to be jam-packed and not going to be delivered in that noontime hour Eastern time. Just want to give a heads up in reference to that, so you know that when we break it all down with what is taking place, and I'll get to that in a moment, that we just want to ensure everybody that the podcast is just going to be preempted a little bit later on than normal. I would say no later than 3 o'clock, and I'm giving you that's like the latest. I would think that'll be earlier than that, because by the time I'm done here, drive back, set up, I haven't even set up yet on the sports desk. So once I get that on and popping, then I'll be able to record, edit, post, etc. But what we have in the podcast pregame today is pretty much straightforward. It's as simple as this. You got the 4 sports that I'm going to tackle: baseball, NFL, college, and NBA. A little NHL, not much going on because it's just the first week. Although there is a couple of surprises that I want to touch on. But with the baseball, you had the classic day on Friday night between Seattle and Detroit. And I thought that was going to be a negative for the Mariners going into that game last night, considering that they played a game that was 15 innings. It ended, not that it mattered, on the East Coast, but 1:10 Eastern time there Friday night, and the quick turnaround for them to celebrate champagne. I don't know if they flew later that morning out to Toronto, or did they happen to go to Toronto mid-afternoon there on Saturday before arriving there. I would think probably late afternoon, early evening there in Canada. And to think that the Mariners were able to pull off that game yesterday. And the big thing about that game was not only that they won the game, but the Blue Jays only had 2 hits, and their last hit came in the second inning. To think that this Mariner team is running on fumes. They had an emotional, mental, spiritual, psychological, epic classic game 5. And then for them to win that game, and just like I said a minute ago, celebration, champagne, pack, get ready to have to fly to Toronto, land, rest, and get themselves in a position where they were going to be just physically, mentally prepared. Now, of course, it's the ALCS. If you're not going to be ready for an ALCS, no matter how tired you are, no matter what you went through in the previous game and the turnaround time, I understand that. But I thought Toronto had a significant advantage going into the game last night. And Kevin Gausman, listen, the 6th inning, he gave up the home run, and then the big 2-out hit by Jorge Polanco, who was the hero in Game 5 of the division series against the Tigers. And what could you say? The Mariners, to me, the theme now has to be, is this a team of destiny? And I know it's a little bit too early to say that. It's only one game. Toronto will play Game 2. I believe it's this afternoon, where the Dodgers will play tonight. And Milwaukee, I'm going to get to that in a moment. But I was really surprised at Toronto, and especially their bats, considering that the Mariners, Bryce Miller, give it up to him, great start, 6 innings, and the bullpen piecemealed it together in order for them to secure that Game 1 win. But I was really surprised at the Mariners and how they performed, especially with their pitching, and how the Blue Jays didn't respond to that. As I mentioned, George Springer started off the game with a home run, and you're thinking to yourself, all right, well, here we go. Blue Jays are going to be off and running, and then they get a single by Anthony Santander in the second, and that was it. Their offense was a no-show, and they didn't even muster up a threat. They had a walk later on in the game, but nothing else to speak of, which was very surprising. And I would think the Blue Jays will come out firing tonight, but we'll talk more about that on the podcast later. But I think the Mariners, team of destiny, considering how Game 5 unfolded, and now Game 1, they got their split, or they are on the verge of getting their split. And if they go up 2-0, who knows if the series even goes back to Toronto. So to me, it's a must-win for Toronto tonight. More on that in the podcast later on. But as far as the other series with the Dodgers and Brewers, now remember, what does the regular season have to do with today, October 13th? Absolutely zero. But if you're a Brewer fan and if you're part of that roster, coaching staff, managerial staff, etc., you were 6-0 against the Dodgers this year. And I understand it doesn't mean anything today because it's pretty much wiped the slate clean. But if you're the Dodgers, I'm sure you've had to read that a little bit over the last 48, 72 hours or so. And they came off of an emotional win, too. We know what happened there Thursday with the Philly game. Phillies took that 1-0 lead. The Dodgers tied. Phillies didn't get that second run in after Castellanos hit that double. And then we all know about Orion Kerkering throwing the ball to the backstop, and the Phillies meekly go off into the offseason with a bunch of questions and not a lot of answers. And I appreciate those who are hopping on board now. I see 17 people. Please, I appreciate your support. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'm talking a little sports right now. If you have any comments, please share, feel free, etc. If you want to subscribe, I'd really even appreciate that too. Even if you're not a big sports fan, pass it along to the sports fan in your life, whether it's a family, friend, foe, frenemy, it doesn't matter. I would sincerely appreciate the support. But for the Dodgers, can they do a 180? We know what they're capable of. You're going to see Blake Snell pitch tonight. Ohtani's going to pitch at some point in the series. We thought Ohtani's going to pitch Game 1. Cole, good morning. Andre, Dodgers win. And Bio, yes, I'm just on a discussion with the Dodgers right now. I know that the regular season doesn't mean anything right at this point. And I also understand that the Brewers, who survived that series against the Cubs, that's all there is to it. And for them to get out alive, and you got to give them credit, no matter how they did it, they were able to win in advance. But the Dodgers team is waiting. And I'm sure, just like I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, for the last 48, 72 hours, they probably had to hear, and I'm sure the managers brought it up to say, hey, we haven't beaten this team all year. But now with the money on the line, let's see what happens. And it's not to discount the Brewers or what they're capable of doing. I think this is going to be a good series. And I'll give you a little bit of a preview now. What the hell? Well, I got especially Andre, who's looks like a Dodger fan, and then, of course, Bio, who's the biggest Dodger fan of all. I think this series is going to be a mirror image, maybe not to the T, but of the 2018 NLCS. It won 7 games. The Dodgers won in Game 7. They won by shutout 5-0. Now, could that happen? It could. I'm not going to say that right now. And, Cole, I'll get your comment there in a second as far as Michigan. No, I know. Rough weekend for Michigan sports. Fishing Angel, good morning to you. But the Dodgers, I really feel that the series against the Phillies, whomever's going to win that is going to go to a World Series. That's not to discount the Brewers by any stretch. And the Brewers, I understand the 3 home runs there in Game 5, and the Cubs couldn't muster up anything similar to what you saw there last night with Seattle. And Toronto with the Blue Jays after really much the second inning after that hit by Santander, they did nothing offensively, and the Cubs couldn't even muster up a rally after getting the home run there in the first inning. But for the Brewers, I think, to me, they have to win these first 2 at home. I think if they split here, and even if they come back 3-2 to Milwaukee, they can win a game number 6, which they did do so in 2018. But I think the Dodgers, until, who knows, unless the Brewers come out here and they really show the world that they mean business, I think the Dodgers are going to win in 7. I want to say 6, but I'll give the Brewers their due to win in 7. What does that mean for the Brewers and their fans? Listen, if you get to a 7th game, as I talked about, even in the summer when they were going through that torrid stretch, when they started that, I think they were like 41-17, which pretty much propelled them to win the NL Central and have the best record in the sport. But even if they lose in 20 innings in Game 7, with their record and what they did in the regular season, they got to get to a World Series. I mean, anything less than a 7th game would be, to me, unacceptable. And I understand you can lose to the Dodger team, who's the defending champ in 7 games. But I don't know, if the Brewers, who can field, they get their timely hitting, they have good enough pitching, and their bullpen, you would think they should be able to match wits even against the Dodger firepower, their lineup, their starters. I know the Dodger bullpen, although a little bit better here in this postseason, but you never know, Jekyll and Hyde. So I think the Dodgers will win in 7. And I will say this, to Rob Manfred and the powers that be in Major League Baseball, they are praying, hoping, with every fiber in their being, that the Dodgers make it to the World Series. Why? Do you really want to see Milwaukee against Seattle or Toronto in a World Series? I think they'd rather have it in this pecking order, although they'll never admit it, but I will. They'd want to see Dodgers Blue Jays because at least you have firepower. And I understand Cal Riley and the young Julio Rodriguez and Jorge Polanco has been the hero here in this postseason, and their good pitching staff. But with Vladdy, George Springer, who knows his way around World Series, I know Bo Bichette's not on the roster. Who knows if he'll be on the roster if they do survive this round. But I think Blue Jays, Dodgers has a little bit more, I don't want to go as far as saying sex appeal, but has a little bit more of a ring to it than Mariners, Dodgers. And even though it's a West Coast series, and I know with all the juice that the Mariners are getting now on this magic carpet ride, considering from the pretty much the middle of August to the end of the season, and then now, as we saw here in the division series, and now after game 1, listen, Mariners, Dodgers isn't bad, but I think Blue Jays maybe a little bit more. I don't know how many people have the Mariners on their radar, even the Blue Jays for that matter. But if you see a Seattle Milwaukee or Toronto Milwaukee, oh, that would be brutal. And I don't want to hear, oh, it's something different. Oh, why not? So on and so forth. Because we saw what happened 2 years ago at Arizona, Texas, and how did that end up? A series that everybody forgot about. Now, if it goes 6 or 7 games, obviously all bets are off. But yeah, Arizona, Texas at first was like, all right, let's see. 2 teams that haven't been there, 2 teams that we haven't seen in a World Series in forever. And it turned out to be a dud, despite the fact that the Rangers and Diamondbacks took game 2 and they split those first 2 games before going to Arizona. And then that's when Texas dusted them off and away we go. So that's what I got there with the baseball. And let's check out all right, as a whole, with some garbage for Michigan sports teams this weekend. Got 1 for 4. Only team that won this weekend was the Red Wings. Yeah, Michigan, I tell you, USC, ooh, that was a surprise. I didn't see 31-13 at all. And with all that's happening in college football, which I'm going to get to in a minute, too, I want to go NFL. But yeah, that was bad. All right, Andre, Brewers win. They are winning World Series. At that point, Dodgers are a tough team to beat. Well, I will say this. If it's going to be Seattle-Milwaukee, Seattle's going to be on a magic carpet ride, and I think they're going to be a team of destiny. They've never been to a World Series, and if they do, I would think this is going to be their shot to win it. Now, the Brewers, I understand. That's going to be, you would think it's going to be great baseball. 2 teams. Milwaukee has been in the World Series since, what, 82? When I lost to the Cardinals in 7. So, I understand for the baseball fan that would still be a good World Series. And I'm not going to predict who's going to win. Let's get there first before I can say, oh, if Seattle plays Milwaukee in the World Series, who would win? Let's get there first, and then we'll analyze it. But I hear you, Andre. If they win, listen, they have as good a shot to win a World Series than whether it be Milwaukee or Toronto at that point if they beat the Dodgers. So, hey, Cole, how about my UCLA Bruins? Yes. I know. Especially after Penn State. I'm going to get to them in a minute. Hottest team in college football. Let me see. Don't know about that. Listen, for breaking James Franklin, that's what I'm going to get to in a minute. After this weekend, I'm over sports. Lines are done in my mind. Yeah, I know that game last night, and I wasn't really following that. I mean, I was kind of back and forth with that. I was more into the baseball. It's playoff time. Sorry. I mean, Lions and Chiefs, although marquee matchup, but it's not going to take precedence over a playoff situation. That's like me watching an NBA game on a Saturday or Sunday when it's the divisional round or championship football. And usually when it's championship, the AFC NFC championship game, usually it's not a basketball game going up against it, or a hockey game for that matter. But I think the Lions should have won in Kansas City if the refs weren't so shady. See, I didn't really see. I'd have to go back. Refs were garbage as a whole this weekend. Very, very bad. Val, if you're in the house, welcome. I know Fred won. Yeah, Niners. Well, let me get to that. The big theme I'm going to get to in football are the Buccaneers Super Bowl contenders. Because yesterday, NFL was kind of blah. I mean, it started off with that Jet Bronco game, 13-11. That was a baseball score. And for Justin Fields, I mean, think about this. I understand he had, 43 yards passing, but the net passing yards with all the sacks, and the Broncos had 9 sacks, minus 10 yards. I mean, Aaron Glenn is in over his head, and I just don't want to put it all on him because the Jet team, although they do have some talent defensively, but they are a far cry from what they were even a couple of years ago when their defense was ranked top 5. And Justin Fields, I mean, he's a guy out of Ohio State by way of Chicago through Pittsburgh, now the Jets. I mean, he has a good arm, and he does have ability, but boy, I don't know if it's the system. I don't know if it's the coordinators. I don't know what it is, but he has not been anything close to what maybe some people would have thought of him coming out of college to be. I'm not going to say a big-time quarterback, but at least a steady quarterback in the league. Definitely not spectacular. And he may have shown glimpses or flashes, but man, he has just been, ugh. But the NFL yesterday, I mean, really, when you go through these games, I mean, anybody geeked up over the Chargers beating the Dolphins or Indianapolis beating Arizona? Now, I know Indy in their record, I mean, listen, they're 5-1, but I mean, Seattle beating Jacksonville, that was a big win for them coming cross country. But to me, I think it's the Buccaneers. Now, the Niners, they're on fumes right now. Their quarterback is out. Their tight end should be coming back. They don't have Nick Bosa. Now they're not going to have Fred Warner. I mean, this team is literally going to be a mash unit, and it already is now. But how they're going to pan out here the rest of the year, that's going to remain to be seen. Now, they lead in the NFC West. And although the Rams won in Baltimore, I mean, really, you're going to get pumped up over that game, 17-3, and a Raven team, no Lamar Jackson, where right now they're 1-5, and it looks like they could be out to sea unless Lamar comes back this week and they turn their fortunes around. But NFL yesterday was not a big day. I mean, Steelers beating the Browns, big whoop there. I mean, I could go through these games, and there really wasn't a lot of juice, not a lot of oomph in the games yesterday. Even in that 4 o'clock window where you had San Francisco and Tampa winning. And that's why, to me, I think that's going to be the theme because Tampa, even with Baker Mayfield, I mean, Dallas, Carolina, I mean, Rico Dowdle running up and down the field against his former team. Yeah, yesterday was not a big NFL day in my eyes. And I'm not trying to say that every game has to be a nail biter, tooth and nail down to the end, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, please. And I'll get back to the comments in a second. What's that? 23B Rad? Welcome, Chiefs. We'll see you at the end. The New York Jets have moved to Winnipeg, yeah. And merged with the Winnipeg Jets, who knows? And even then, they'll probably give bad juju to the Winnipeg Jets if that's the case. But no, I'll get back to the comments in a second. But Tampa. Now, the one thing that would scare me if I'm a Buccaneer fan is the coach. I understand they've done well. You can't knock Todd Bowles on what he's done. And listen, he's gotten his team to the playoffs the last couple of years, albeit as a 4 seed, and last year not getting out of that first round against Washington, but the year before that, beating the Eagles and giving the Lions a run for their money in the divisional round. But are the Bucs for real? Are they a team that you could really look at as a powerhouse in the NFC? And with the Eagles losing on Thursday night to the Giants, and remember, now with the Buccaneers having a game better, they are now, it's even hard to fathom. If the season ended today, which we all know it hasn't, and we still got another, 12 weeks to go, but they'd be the 1 seed in the NFC by tiebreakers over both, and they have a better record than the Niners and a better record than the Eagles. So they'd be a 1 seed. And they beat Seattle on top of that, too. So right now, they're sitting pretty, and they have all the tiebreakers that are in line. Now, I know they have to play the Lions later on this year, so that's going to be another big game. And the Lions, as you know, lost to Kansas City there last night. And I'm not going to get all pumped up about the Chiefs because they beat the Lions. I think the Chiefs will be there in the end when it's all said and done. But obviously, as we've seen the Chiefs so far, wildly inconsistent. And I didn't watch the game last night, as you know, but I understand people are going to look at the Chiefs and what they did to the Lions, like, oh, hey. And all right, you can say so, but again, we're only in week 6. So we'll get to, obviously, a lot and unpack the NFL there during the podcast later on. And let me go back to some of the comments here. Again, I came outside. I did not bring my glasses. Good job by me. Auburn-Georgia game was the worst refs I ever seen. Georgia ended up winning that game, didn't they? I should know that. Yeah, Saturday was a crazy day. I didn't really watch a lot of the college football, but I did follow it. Now, here's the thing about the refs call. I understand we could talk about it, but I'm sure there were plays in the game that it wasn't just all. Now, listen, did the refs help? I'm sure they did or did not. But there had to be something along the lines of them screwing that game up, whether it be Auburn, whether it be some of the other games or the NFL. Listen, I know it's easy to pin it on the refs, but unless it's a situation like the Saints and Rams in the championship game, where I'm sure Bio could attest on that pass interference, the no call that should have been, unless it's something to that degree, then and I understand it's easy to point the finger at the refs, but, and of course I didn't see it, so I can't really judge it, but I look hungover in my shorts yesterday. I had fun at the wedding. Yeah, oh yeah, I was tired. I did not get a lot of sleep. And yeah, I had a few drinks there at the wedding on Saturday. So yeah, I certainly was looking shot. And even last night, I was going to post something about the baseball and even talk a little NFL, but I was just too tired. I went to bed late for me and didn't really sleep well. So Baker's going to light up the Lions next Monday. Oh, so they're going to play. Oh, so that's look at that. I was just talking about Lions and Bucks playing one another. Now that game is in. Wait, let me think. Is that game in Detroit, Cole? Because if it is, I think the Lions will win, especially after coming off of a loss and the Buccaneers playing well. We shall see. I'll see you at the end. So that's Chiefs and Lions. I guess that's 23 would be bad. That game last night was a commercial for the Chiefs and Taylor Swift. Oh, yeah, please. I'm sure that was. Starting to worry about the Lions. I know I didn't really see the game I didn't really get a good feel. I know they were up 10-6, and then I know Mahomes got to chop the head off. Same movie as last season when Lions injuries killing the defense. And I know, who knows if what's his name's going to get suspended. He's probably going to get fined for sure. Brian Branch for smacking Juju Smith-Schuster. That wasn't a good look. And even admitted that, so kudos to him. Refs took a touchdown away from Auburn that would have put the game at 17. 17-0. Oh, it's at home in Detroit. All right, that's good. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions win that game. All right, so the refs took a touchdown away from Auburn that would have put the game at 17-0. Yeah, he probably would get suspended one game. I mean, that was uncalled for. Fine for sure. Let's see about suspension. I'm sure it'll come down either today or maybe as early as tomorrow or latest tomorrow. But yeah, as far as the college goes, it's twofold. I guess I have to believe in Indiana right now because to me that was a shock. I said in order for me to believe they had to be competitive in the game, and they certainly were. They had a lead in the fourth quarter. I know there was a bad pick there by Mendoza where it tied the game at 20, but you got to give it up. He responded on the next drive with a touchdown, and then they got a pick, which led to a field goal. And who would have thought that the Indiana Hoosier football team would be at this stage better than the basketball team? I understand college basketball is going to start soon, but Indiana, I mean, now they're going to play Ohio State. That's going to be the real test, if you ask me. But I got to shut up. I got to give them their just due because it wasn't as if it was a lucky win. It wasn't a situation where Oregon led and then all of a sudden they shot themselves in the foot, turnovers and bad penalties and personal fouls where they got Indiana back in the game. So, one more time, I can't say anything about Indiana football. I got to give them credit. That was a huge win. And that's the biggest win in that program's history. I mean, when you think about Indiana football, you think about what they did last year, and that was a good stepping stone to this year. And even though they plastered Illinois, and they could talk about, oh, we beat Illinois, they were what? Ahead of them in the rankings. I think they were 9 and Indiana was 17. But I'm not a believer in Illinois. But for them to have that win on the road, and what can I say? I can't say anything. I got to give it up. But that Ohio State game will be looming, and to me, that's what's going to put them at number one. If they win that game, they're going to be number one in the country. So we'll keep an eye on that. And then James Franklin, I understand you lost your quarterback there, and he's done for the year. And what was that? I think it was in the third quarter they lost him. But you can't lose to Northwestern. I mean, that is just, and that's why Franklin got fired. If they would have won the game, even by the slimmest of margins, and Northwestern won by a point, then you could say, all right, he gets to keep his job. But now they are toast. They are done. Forget about them with a college football playoff. And that's why I understand. I don't know if Brent's in the room. I haven't seen him. And I'll go back to Cole, your comments in a second. But I know Brent and I were going back at it a little bit in a post. I forgot what it was. It was sometime last week. And I still got to respond to a lot of your posts from the weekend. So I will do so, if not by today, definitely by tomorrow. But Brent was saying, well, hey, you can't really base the fortunes of a team this year on what they did or didn't do in the past. And I understand that, and that's fair. But I can only go based on track record. And in the case with Penn State, I had to see them win a big game. I had to see them go ahead and be in a situation where, all right, they're going to match up last year, as we saw, Ohio State. Did they beat them? No. All right, in the Big Ten Championship against Oregon. And they had a shot at 35-27 with the ball. Did they tie? Did they capitalize? They did not. And then we could look at just this 3-game losing streak and them losing games that you could say that they absolutely shouldn't have lost, and they haven't even played Ohio State yet. But when you look at games where they absolutely have to win, and I got to believe it when I see it, and until I do so, i.e. Indiana, then I could say, you know what, maybe this year is going to be different. But until I see it, then I'll believe it. And in the case with Penn State, here we go. So how I look at it is, maybe this was a long time coming. Franklin has been there for 12 years, has been unable to win a big game, and Penn State is bye-bye. No way they're going to make it to a college football playoff. So let's see. Cole. Lines on discipline. Yeah, I know. Maybe he's gotten too nice to the guys. Reading their press clippings, maybe it's a situation where, yeah, he is taking the foot off the gas a little bit. Indiana game left me with more questions than answers. Spell check. All right, Oregon has beaten who? Penn State. And we know who Penn State really is. So Oregon, not that good. Listen, I know Oregon is not the team that we've seen over the last few years. But, I mean, you got to give them their due and their respect. And I can't stand the coach. I can't stand Dan Lanning. And the quarterback, I'm not a big believer in, Dante Moore. But, listen, they have a pedigree. And for me, Indiana, I know that you could say Oregon is big whoop. You could definitely make that case. But to me, that game Saturday was more about Indiana than it was about Oregon. Because, like I said on the podcast Thursday, if they were just competitive in the fourth quarter, but let's say by a score, if it was 20-17 or 24-20 and they were in the game, I'd have to give it up. Now, if they would have lost that game, or if Oregon would have won 31-20, at least they were competitive in the game, I would have said, all right, that bodes well for them moving forward. But no, they had a lead going into the fourth quarter. You saw what happened, how it unfolded. So, yeah, it's not as if Indiana, and again, that was the biggest game in school's history. We could talk about the Notre Dame game last year. We could talk about even the game against Ohio State going into that game. And you could say, those were the two biggest games that they had. But to me, this was the litmus test. And granted, this isn't a vintage Oregon team. I understand. There's no Bo Nix. There's no Dylan Gabriel. There's none of that. I get it. But for them to go to Eugene and to win that game, to me, it speaks volumes. But as I said a few minutes ago, Cole, now let's see them go play Ohio State. But I got to lay off that until they get to that week. And which I believe is, if it's not this week, it's the following week, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe it's early November. I don't know off the top of my head. I got to go back and check that. But yeah, that's why I got to give it up. So, can Michigan still make the playoff? Well, obviously they have to beat Ohio State. That's going to be huge. And I don't have the rest of the schedule in front of me. I'm sure you could attest. Let me see. Well, you got Michigan State forthcoming. You're not playing Penn State. Yeah, I think your only big game left is probably Ohio State. Are you playing? No way. Washington. I don't believe you're playing Oregon. As long as they use their brains. Who's Penn State's new head coach? Well, I know they promoted the one of the assistants there. I can't think of his name. Something Allen. Forgot his name. But who they promote as coach? Penn State. Listen, if they're not going to hire from within, would they go take a former player? Trying to think. Nah, I don't think he's coach material, but does Kerry Collins become your next head coach? Nah, I don't know if those guys are going to be all right in the coaching circles. You know, him, LeVar Arrington, you could go through all the Penn State alum, but yeah, I couldn't even tell you who the next coach is. If I'm Penn State, AD, I go give. That'd be big. Urban Meyer, would they do that? Yeah, now what happened with Urban Meyer, that was more NFL, that whole Jacksonville disaster, and that was a disaster. But Urban Meyer that's a great start. Well, if they get Vandy's head coach, now Vandy's head coach would be good, but now he's going to go from the frying pan into the fire. And I understand he plays in the SEC, but now Penn State, and they got to recruit a quarterback because Aller now, his eligibility is gone after this year, unless they futz around with the rules and he comes back. But Aller's not a big-time quarterback. At least I don't think so. I wouldn't trust him in a big spot. Big moment tonight for your Savage for Toronto. Yeah, get Toronto back in the series, make a name for himself. Yeah, let's see what he does here. What he does for an encore after that start, which was what, 8 days ago against the Yanks. So, yeah, and I'm looking forward to that game, and obviously the baseball too tonight. And that's what I want to see tonight. Even if the Dodgers win tonight, but the Brewers get a split, that's fine. But I wonder if the Dodgers go in there and win 7-1. Like, what is that going to do for the Brewers' psyche? That's the one thing I'm fascinated about. Like, what if they go in there, they put up a 3-spot in the first inning, and then they cruise to like a 7-1 win? Yeah, I mean, what would that? I don't know. And especially since the Brewers have beaten the Dodgers all year, 6-0, and I understand that was back June, July. I remember they played at Dodger Stadium after the All-Star break, and the series before was, I think it was in late June in Milwaukee. I'm worried if Moore doesn't make it at Michigan, they go after Jimbo Fisher. Yeah, I don't think if you think they'd fire Sharon Moore already? I don't think they would. I mean, I'd be surprised. Now, I think he has to run the table. Now, if they lose to Ohio State this year, listen, I understand the game is in the building. Yeah, listen, I understand that even if he loses that game, listen, Jim Harbaugh lost how many games against to Ohio State? And they still won a championship. So, yeah, I don't think he'd be gone. Moore gets fired at Michigan after the season. I want Jesse Minter as head coach. Do you think he gets fired? I don't know. I don't know. To me, it's too soon to tell. Let's see how the season plays out. And obviously, you have the finger on the pulse a lot more than I do there, Cole. But, yeah, I mean, if they run the table, I think he's going to be fine. They're going to make it to the playoffs, you would think. And even if they do lose to Ohio, now if they lose bad to Ohio State, which I don't think they will, at home. But, yeah, I don't know. I'd be surprised. Lane Kiffin. I know, and that's the thing, because now you're far removed from Paterno. If they get a quarterback in there, they'll be dangerous. And that's the thing. And listen, they're in Pennsylvania. There's got to be, all they got to do is go to where? Beaver Falls, home of Dan Marino, Joe Namath, all those quarterbacks that have come out of that region there in Western PA, near Pittsburgh. But, yeah, with Lane Kiffin going to Penn State? Yeah, College football, I tell you now, it's really going to, I think, really heat up here. Now as you're getting deeper into the season, you're already 7 weeks in. We have talked about this, more coaches not to lose instead of coaching to win. Yeah, and when you play like that, when you coach like that, that's when you're definitely going to be destined to get burned. So, but I don't know. I'd have to let's see how the rest of the schedule plays out. They lose another game before Ohio State, and then lose to Ohio State. It's possible, but we shall see. And then you got the NBA a week from tomorrow. Unbelievable. And Bio, I'd like to get your thoughts. Now LeBron's going to be out 3 to 4 weeks with sciatica. Now listen, it's only the first few weeks, but I don't know. Sciatica, that's no joke. And I get it that he has the finest medical staff and training facilities, etc. So LeBron obviously is part man, part cyborg, but he is 40. He'll be 41 at the end of December. But because it's sciatica and it's a nerve issue, is that going to be something that's going to crop up throughout the course of the year? Because it's not like it's a knee issue that it's sore or an ankle sprain, which I understand that's nagging, but sciatica, that's like it could jolt you at any second. And how that factors into the Lakers season. Now, listen, I understand not a lot is going to be expected of LeBron, but he still is LeBron James. And there's still going to be a lot. He's still going to be asked to contribute 22 to 24 points a game, 6 to 7.5 rebounds, 6 to 7.5 assists a game. I understand they're going to try to give him less minutes, but, it's not as if LeBron at 40 is going to be 15 to 18 minutes and you only hope to get, 10 to 12 points off the bench. I mean, this guy's going to be a big-time contributor to your team this year. So to me, I think that's just the sciatica, that could be an issue, I think, for him throughout the course of the year. This weekend at home against Washington is a trap game from Michigan. All right. Now, but who do they play if it's a trap game if Washington is a trap game this weekend, who do they play the following week? Because to me, if they play a bigger opponent the following week, then this week is a quintessential trap game. Because, that's like, let's say, for instance, I know you said the Steelers were good yesterday. I'll get to them in a second. That's like if Pittsburgh was playing Baltimore, let's say Baltimore was whole and they were good. If Pittsburgh played Baltimore in 2 weeks, and this week they were playing the Jets, that is a quintessential trap game because they're overlooking the Jets to already face the Ravens where they're like, the Jets are 0-6. We're going to beat them as long as we just show up. And then next thing you know, they're in a rock fight and they end up losing that game, which becomes a trap game because they already had their sights set on Baltimore by looking past the Jets. So that's why I'm curious to see who in Washington plays the following week for it to be that trap game. Yeah, Steelers are good, but again, it's the Browns. It's Dylan Gabriel. It's his second start. And, I mean, I don't know what else to add to that. And listen, they won the game. You don't throw wins back, 23-9. They didn't give up a touchdown. Maybe their defense, after the bye, they're going to start to come into sync. Joey Porter came back. So, we'll see. They have the Bengals this week. And their schedule's going to get harder. So, but it will give Luka a chance to have team to absolutely learn to be the leader. Lakers will make playoffs easy. LeBron's to hang on to playoffs. Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly on everything you said there, Bio, without question. I don't see LeBron winning a ring this year, although I wish he would. Not only that, I would think, Michigan State the following week. So yes, that is a trap game in that regard because they may be looking ahead to Michigan State. We all know that's a rival game. So yeah, Washington could be that. And they shouldn't even overlook Washington because it's not as if Michigan State is a powerhouse, but because it's a big-time rival, I'm sure they already have the calendar set. We got the Spartans in 2 weeks, and then meanwhile, I got the Huskies coming in, and that's a whole different story. So yeah, good call on that, Cole. Very good. I mean, is this going to be it for LeBron? I mean, this is his 23rd year. And I'm just sitting here thinking about 23 years. I mean, this has to be it. Now, listen, I'm not trying to make this sciatica out to be crippling by any means, but It's just something to monitor, if you ask me. Watching as a running quarterback makes me nervous. Well, I figure if you put a spy on him, I mean, I couldn't even tell you Washington's weapons. I mean, obviously they're a far cry from their championship run a couple of years ago. LeBron leaves Lakers after this. Yeah. Now listen, I would have to think if this is not going to be it for him, next year has to be it. I mean, it has to. I mean, he's going to be 20, his 24th year. He's going to be going on 42 at that point. I mean, what else is he trying to prove? Does he want to have his records not broken ever again? And as it is, nobody's breaking his point total record. Nobody's going to do that. I mean, come on, you got to play 20. And here's the thing about LeBron. The only way you're going to break that point total record, I understand it's not like the home run record or some of the other records in sports, but you're going to have to be a compiler. And I hate to say it, we know LeBron, listen, this is not to discredit his brilliance by any means, but now he's becoming a bit of a compiler. Because, right, and listen, it's not as if he's hanging on, coming off the bench, and that's his excellence and his greatness and his brilliance, etc. So I guess I can't even say that because you don't look at LeBron as a compiler in that regard, because the compiler is the guy who's just like, trying to break records or trying to extend records just for the sake of doing it. And I don't think LeBron really cares about that, if you ask me. But you would think, if not this year, next year has to be his final year. I mean, am I crazy for even thinking that, let alone saying it? He did good, but his time has come. No, yeah. And who knows? And listen, sciatica is no joke, man. My father has that. And again, I'm not trying to make sciatica out to be, blown Achilles or anything to that extent, but yeah, I mean, that is one that it just pops up out of nowhere. And next thing you know, you're laying on the floor because you have that nerve shooting up literally your glutes to your back. And yeah, I mean, that is a sharp pain that is just tough to deal with. So who knows? So yeah, I'm going to touch on that a little bit. And yeah, the hockey only just a weekend. So it really isn't much to talk about there. Although there are a couple of storylines early. The Bruins 3-0. And even the Panthers, they haven't missed a beat considering that they're 3-0 also. And I picked them as an under at 105.5 on my over-unders. That's way too early to even getting that, but, LeBron Pirates arthritis. Yeah, I mean, who knows? Listen, we understand he keeps himself in phenomenal shape. He's a guy that invests in his body. I don't have to, you guys know that. But, yeah, when does it come to a point where, I don't want to say he's going to start breaking down in front of our eyes, but, I mean, geez. Raw Podcast Steak, Hawaii. Is that where you're from? And Raw Podcast, what is your podcast about? Hopefully it's not about raw steaks. Now, I'm not saying it to be silly but just curious. Hawaii be nice right about now. I'm sitting in my car. It is about 55 degrees. It has been rainy the last 2 days because of this nor'easter. And it's going to be like that for the rest of this day into tomorrow. And yes, I think it's safe to say, let me start shedding a tear, that I'll say mild weather, because a week ago today, it was 79 degrees, and then last Tuesday was 80, and since then it's dropped off to about mid-60s. I don't know if we're going to see 70 degrees. Well, we'll probably see 70, but I'll say this. I don't think we're going to see anything close to 75 until we get to next year. Now, you may get that freakish day, as we have gotten, whether it's November, hey, it's 72, or who knows, you've gotten some 80-degree days. I'll never forget Christmas Eve one year. I think it was 2015, maybe 2014. Christmas Eve was 72 degrees, New York City. So it'll be raining tomorrow in California, and they say it never rains in Southern California. Yeah, it's like the old song. Yeah, that's the thing. It doesn't. When you have 300 sunny days out of the year in California, I mean, oh man. I know. I need a beach too. I would love to be on a beach. I haven't really had a true vacation now. It's going on a year and a half. And Lord knows, just trying to hustle here, do my thing. But and even if I was on a beach somewhere, I'd have my laptop, I'd have my phone, I'd still be working. And yeah, and now things will start to quiet down a little bit because I know the last few weekends have been busy. I know I haven't posted up a lot of shorts. No, it's about that guy stuttering John. Oh yeah. Oh, look at that. Oh, thanks for hopping on board, Raw Podcast Steak. Yeah, Stuttering John. I remember Stuttering John. Wow. Well, I appreciate you being a part of this live stream. Now, talking sports, anything else you want to talk about? I used to listen to Stern back in the day, and I do have XM radio, but and I'm not going to listen to the replays. But yeah, I haven't listened to Stern like I once did when he was on terrestrial radio. But no, you were making a joke. I was in Hawaii. Why? Because it looked like, yeah, it's foggy, it's gray. Raw Podcast, I wish I was in Hawaii right now. Just to sit on a lounge chair, beach chair. No one listens to Stern anymore? No? Howard Stern is guy. I mean, listen. So no one listens to Stern. Is that right? I mean, I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you. Now, there's nobody listens to Stern because of him going to Sirius XM, or nobody listens to him because I don't want to say he's washed, but Howard Stern. I mean, listen, he's on the Mount Rushmore of radio. I mean, it goes without question. Yep, king of all media. But Raw Podcast, I'd be curious to know why nobody listens to Stern anymore. And what part of the world are you coming from? I'd love to hear. And that's the Raw Podcast. Speaking of podcasts, as you well know, later on today, yeah, I'd say before 3 o'clock, because after this, I'm going to head back to the apartment. Wife is home. Yeah, I listen to a bunch of his clips on YouTube as well. I still do that. Yeah, wife is home. Actually, the wife's going to be home the next few weeks. She's taking some time off from work. So I will be in the car. Or if it's not raining, I'll be outside during a lot of the podcast pregame lives on Monday and Thursday. I got $1,000 from Sirius XM Radio. They stole my information. Is that right? When was that call? How long ago? It's jeez. I have Sirius XM. I don't know if they stole my information, but maybe I should make a claim to get some money. Why not? No, I don't want to do that just for the sake of doing that. All right, no one listens because he changed and he is on top of, but he's lost it like we all do. Do we all lose it? Yeah, I guess we all do kind of lose it when it's all, Because, right, there'll be a day and time where it's time for me to exit stage, right? And I guess everybody else for that matter, right? Listen, I could be sharp and on top of my game now, and 5 years from now, 10 years from now, if I'm still doing this, people are going to be like, oh, yeah, that JAYREELZ. Now, listen, as you all know, I am not going to stop until my last breath doing what it is that I love. So, over 6 years. Is that 8 years ago? Oh, okay. I can't run as fast as I used to. Oh, you're a runner, Raw Podcast. I ask only because I am. Love to run. I actually should have ran in the rain this morning. I know it was part of me was like, nah, so I was just prepping for the podcast, catching up on the stuff from the weekend. And as I was saying earlier, yes, I'm thankful for these last few weekends. Wife's birthday was 2 weeks ago. Last week I had a niece's birthday party. This weekend was my wife's dear friend, her wedding. Shout out to Miriam and Mike. But yeah, these next few weekends should be rather quiet. Not a lot of running around. Bought a vehicle with OnStar. Oh, nice. Wow, look at that. Sucks you had to go through that, but hey, you shoot and won. So that's a good job on your part, Cole. But yeah, so things will start to quiet down a little bit. And then I have to kick it in overdrive. I'm hoping to see this week whether or not I got to follow up with an agency to try to pump out more content, not sports related, some other stuff, so I could start earning some money thanks to an invite that I got from one of the guys in the room. I won't shout him out, but or maybe I did shout out once upon a time, or maybe they bring it up once upon a time. But yeah, so just trying to find ways to continue to do what I do, and also try to generate some revenue. And I do have a new sponsor too, by the way, that I haven't announced this yet because I'm waiting on some merch. So yeah, I'll keep you posted. Hopefully by the end of the week. If not, by next week, I will let you know who that is. Cole put the hat in my thumbnail for a reason. Yes. No, it is. When you're out there, and that's what we all should do, right? That should be the goal for everybody. Go out there and FS up. No, not Fox Sports 1. Not to say this is a kiddie program. And that's the one thing, too. I know that throughout all my live streams and podcasts and everything, yeah, I try to refrain from swearing. Not that I like swear left and right. I swear more watching sports than I do, I guess, in real life. And not to say that I'm a choir boy, and maybe that's not even a good term to even to use, an analogy. But yeah, to me, I get my point across by speaking my mind. I don't need to throw F-bombs every 5 seconds where you may hear on other podcasts where I understand to other people. It's just like, not the first, certainly won't be the last. But, hey, if I'm going to curse, I'm going to curse because I feel it, not because I'm just going to do so. Where on a lot of these other podcasts and especially when it comes to sports, it's like, come on, man, really? You're going to drop a zillion F-bombs? And I understand that whether they're being authentic or not, who knows? But that's not for me to judge. But at the same time, it's like, nah, I know that if there are any kids watching or teenage kids, I'm cognizant of that. But hey, I don't even think that the day after the Mets or that night when the Mets were officially eliminated, and I had every reason to curse, and I may have thrown one or two in there, but yeah, that could have been profanity laced. But yeah, I certainly withheld and did not go there. Cole's not a violent person, not at all. But I live by the saying, and not around to find out. Yeah, I hear that. And nothing wrong with that, man. Right. We don't want to resort to violence, or that's the first reaction. But yeah, if people are going to step to you, if people are going to try to test you or try to just try you, then you're barking up the wrong tree. And that's me too. I got a long fuse. I don't let things bother me, and I've tried to do a lot better when it comes to, let's say, even driving on the road rage. Not that I'm the type that I want to follow you for 20 miles and curse you out or attack you, but yeah, it's easy, especially in this city, to have people cut you off or people just being patient, and it's easy to just want to chase them down or give them a piece of your mind. But it's like, what? Really, there's no need. So I've done better in curtailing my emotions in that regard. But yeah, I just got to realize it's them, it's not me. And, that's all there is to it. Which is funny because, a quick story. So I was running Saturday morning, and I was in Long Island. And Long Island's pretty much suburbs, spread out. So I was running down a service road in a big intersection where the light was red, where I could have stopped, but there wasn't a lot of traffic. And there was a car coming, and I saw the car from a mile away, so I was waiting for it to pass. I'm just standing there, pacing myself. So then he drives by, then I run by, and then he honks his horn. So he honked his horn, and then I look to see, and he has his arm out, flipping me the bird. And all I can say is, my guy, it's not as if I cut in front of your car or I saw you coming and I ran in front of you like a deer in headlights. No, I waited for you to pass. Then I ran, and then you flipped me off. And then I looked at him like, I just went like this. And then all I could say as I'm running away, I'm like, seriously? And that's when I knew. I said, oh, hey, that guy really has some issues. Because if I cut you off and I flipped you off, or I was like, you should slow down for me. No. I mean, obviously they have the right of way. They had a green light. But yeah, that was an instance where I was just like, you guys are lost. Yeah, he's probably going to go through the Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru and get his 48-ounce iced coffee, which is nothing wrong with that. But he's probably jacked up on all the foods that aren't good for you or aren't, whatever. And I kind of hate to say that, but but that's also going to clear your thinking and your judgment, as opposed to just, all right, you may see me, all right, oh, this guy is going to cut in front of me. All right, you didn't cut in front of me, fine, just keep it moving. But no, you decided you want to flip me off on top of that, please. Cross the line and you're going to find out, yes. Speaking the truth, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, absolutely, Fishing Angel, you know it. 100%. Guy running his mouth to my wife the other day, oh, that's not a good deal. At the gas station, didn't see me, so I went outside, put myself on a vehicle, and just stood there and stared at him, pumped his gas, and left him real fast, yeah. I know, I hear that. And the crazy thing is that I don't want to say my wife would stir the pot more than I would. I know she would. Yeah, because I'm a peaceful dude. I'm not trying to whatever. But if it gets to a point where it's like, yo, now you're violating, that's a whole other story. But no, she's the type where, yeah, she'll step to somebody or she'll make a comment. Let's say, I don't know, if we're on the subway, which is rare these days, but if we're on the subway together and somebody like bumps into her or whatever, and before I even say anything, it's like, excuse me. And then she'll say, flipping jerk or, yeah. And they're like, yeah, what are you going to do about it? And she's the type where, yeah. And then, of course, I got to be right there. And in New York, you never know. Somebody's going to pull out a gun or what. Who knows? Not to go down that road, but that's the one thing. Yeah, the wife doesn't fear anybody. So it's almost a thing where it's like, yeah, she can handle her own. Not to say she's a 5th-degree black belt or anything, but yeah, she doesn't take mess. So it's not like if somebody bumps into her, like, oh my God, husband, come help me out. No, she'll be there and I'll be like, yeah, what's up? That reminds me of a time when we were walking down the street and we were walking our dog and this guy was high on something. So he got a little bit too close. And I think playfully, but then again, seriously, he actually took a kick at our dog, but he purposely missed. He missed by about a couple of feet. But yo, I turned around like, yo, what are you doing? And my wife stood in front of me. It's like, yeah, try that again. Try it again. I was like, well, I guess I don't need to step into this. And that was the thing, because I'll never forget, she was here walking the dog to the right of me. So I saw him out of the corner of my eye when he was acting all silly and he took that swipe. And then I took one step toward him, like, yo, what are you doing? And then she took a step and said, yeah, try that again. I was like, oh. So I'm not someone to mess with. I hear you, Fishing Angel. You tell him. We're too old to drop the gloves. I hear you, Bio. And that's the last thing. I come in peace. I'm all about peace. I'm about love. I'm about harmony. And I understand if somebody's going to violate or cross the line, you're not going to back off. Now, right. Any day I'm out here, I'm not looking for smoke. But if somebody's going to act stupid or, I mean, I could even, not that I want to run down scenarios or things of that nature, but yeah, I mean, and I get it. People are going through their own stuff, but still, man, you got to act accordingly. There's no need to act silly, to act stupid or act tough, or, I mean, come on. And that's the thing. People don't realize that. I understand you're not going to try to diagnose someone, oh, well, that person's having a bad day, I got to have empathy for them. No. If they're going to cut me off or they're going to do something stupid that's going to affect me, I understand that's how I handle it. But if it's going to be to a point where they're going to start dropping F-bombs at me or get in my face or try to make it personal, it's like, yo, we ain't doing that here. But I hear you. The last thing I want to do is drop the gloves. But not being a hard ass, not at all. I've been to jail before. I'm not worried about going back for the right reason. No, I hear that. Is jail a nice place? No, do I want to be? Yeah, no, of course. But right. Yeah, if they're going to mess with your family, if they're going to mess with your money, if they're going to yeah, of course. Then that's, I mean, all bets are off. I hear you, Cole. I feel you. 1,000%, man. No doubt. All right, 10:30 here in the East. You already know what's going to be on the podcast. I appreciate you all. You know that. And I'll be back Wednesday live stream, high noon. We'll see what the baseball playoffs are going to look like then. We'll see what the NFL, we'll see what's happening with the NBA, as when it will be less than a week away. NHL. I know Las Vegas States was won the WNBA finals for those who care, swept. But that's what I got, people. Look forward to Wednesday. The next Podcast pregame will be right here, as you know, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. But before that, not only do we have the official Wednesday live stream, as you know, but also a podcast today coming at you, I would say around 3 o'clock. And, I appreciate you guys' support. I have to get back to your comments. I will do that, like I said, in the next 24 hours or so. And I'm in the middle of editing some content. As you know, I'm doing a little sports history deal with a lot of the stuff that's in October with baseball, and I got to record some stuff tomorrow. What a great sports day, everyone. Yes, go Dodgers. The journey for back-to-back continues. Yes, it does. To your beloved Blue. We shall talk soon, people. As always, I appreciate the love, appreciate the support. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, as you well know. And not to repeat myself, you know what's coming across the timeline. You know what's coming across the channel here over the next few days. And hope to see you all on Wednesday. And I'm getting a text from my mom right now. Yeah, of course. Yes, have a great day, Fishing Angel, to you and yours as well. As always, peace, love, and God bless everybody from the South Bronx, South Beach, South Central, South Pacific, and all points beyond. Enjoy your Monday. It's a new week. Let's get it. See you guys on Wednesday. And until then,